So we're going to do something a little bit different here. I've had people ask me about investing and my investment portfolio and whatnot. So I decided to go ahead and do a video actually giving you a peek into one of my investment portfolios and discussing some strategies that I implement when it comes to my investing. Now, just to clarify some things, this is my third investment portfolio. I have two other ones. One of them is for strictly retirement, and the other one is more so to time the market. This is the one I kind of used to play around with and to do testing and things like that. So originally, I had opened up this account with M1 Finance to just buy REITs, which are real estate investment trusts. But instead, I chose to actually expand this portfolio out. And right now, the goal, I mean, I have a lot of different goals with this portfolio, but the goal is to eventually get it to 1 million, which is going to take many years. Or maybe not. We'll see. But this portfolio worked out really well for me. So I wanted to show you all what was in the portfolio and kind of my investment strategy. Now, like I said, this is not my retirement portfolio, but you can certainly use this as your, I guess, your sneak peek or whatever, your preview about investing. And if you want to invest for retirement, which you certainly should do, definitely a good place to do it is here, because you can open up a Roth IRA through M1 and it just makes things a lot easier. There's other companies too. This is not sponsored by M1. This is my actual portfolio here, or one of them anyways, my third portfolio. So the companies I have here listed, and I'll tell you why I have them. Tesla right now, and by the way, I'm recording this on December the 7th, so these numbers are going to change. They go up and down, and that's one thing about the stock market is a couple things you should be aware of. Okay, number one, your stocks are going to go up and down. You need to not sweat, not lose your mind here. It just happened, especially this year. Earlier this year I was nothing but green, but now I have some red down here, and a lot of that has to do with the pandemic. So be aware that if you're new at this, it's not going to always go up. Second of all, if you're new at this, don't expect to make these numbers overnight. Too many people get involved in the stock market and they think they're going to get rich overnight, and it never happens, dude. It never happens that way. Trust me. In fact, people who day trade end up quitting. About 80% of them never make it because of the wrong mentality, really. For me, I'm not a day trader. Okay, now you might be wondering, what's a day trader? A day trader is somebody who's at home all day buying and selling stocks, right? They literally spend all day either researching companies, which I do a little bit, but not to that degree. They spend all day researching business trends, reading Yahoo Finance, reading the Wall Street Journal all day. That's all they do. And they spend hours, like sometimes 8, 12, maybe even 16 hours a day playing with the stock market, buying and selling all day. I don't do this because I don't have time for it, and most of you probably don't have time for it. And the other reason is because of how stressful it is to be a day trader. It's very stressful. What I prefer to do is called buying and holding. I buy companies and I do not sell. I hold, and I try to invest in companies or in bonds or in stocks, mostly stocks. I don't really have any bonds that are going to show big improvements in the future. They're going to grow. So a lot of the stuff I have here are growth funds or growth stocks, but I have some dividends as well. The goal that I have is that at some point I'm going to convert my entire portfolio to dividends and just live off my dividends for the rest of my life. Now, again, that's going to be later in life because you can't just accomplish that fast. That's something for down the road because I'm still working. I'm still working my business. I'm still enjoying my life, doing what I do. But at some point, if I want to quit or whatever, once I have that converted over to dividend stock, they'll pay all my bills for me. And with me just sitting at home doing nothing, except for buying more. But that's later. That is later in life. You cannot do that unless you're a prodigy or something. You're not going to be able to do that right away. But I wanted to show why I bought some of these companies. So Microsoft and Sony had a couple of big years this year because of the Xbox and the PS5 release. But also Sony's got some big plans for media next year. Not just with Spider-Man, but all kinds of stuff they have planned in the next few years. So Sony's a safe company. All these companies are safe companies. Walmart's a safe company. A company that's been around for years and years and years and years and years is typically a safe company. We don't foresee Sony, Microsoft, or Walmart going out of business. They're just not. In fact, Sony's been buying a lot of things lately. There's rumors they're going to buy Funimation and Crunchyroll and all kinds of rumors. But they're a safe company to invest in because they're always growing. Same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft's very expensive, but there's a reason for that. And I've made a profit with all these companies. Tesla's been the big winner for me, yo. As you can see right here, 413%. I invested 3K into this and I made, no, 2K. And it looks like I made a hell of a lot more back. Was it 2K or was it 3K? No, it was more. That's how I started. And then I started adding a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So I've made $6,580 in this company and I've only had it this year. I made $6,000 on Tesla and I've only had it this year. I wish I would have put more in. And you always say that when you're doing stock market stuff. You always say, I wish I had put, sorry for the noise there. I wish I had invested at this point. Dude, I wish I had invested in Amazon when it first opened. Holy moly, I'd be rich. But that's rare. And again, I've got AMD, who has come back with a force right here. I made $2,000 off of them. Now understand, this is not cash that I'm making. For those of you who don't know, this is not how the stock market works. The value of the stock went up. So if I were to sell the stock, what I would be making is what's called, it's not income in the same way that like you get a paycheck for. It's capital gains, right? Now again, when it comes to dividends, that's different. I'm not going to go into all of this today because there's not enough time. But AMD, for example, big company, did very well this year. Medical Properties Trust. This was actually down most of the year, probably because of what was going on with COVID, even though I thought that maybe it would go up. It did go up over time. But now that we've got things going on, with hospitals and everything, people opening back up again, not just that, but clinics and things like that, with more customers coming in, because as this thing subsides, it's going to go up and go down, go up and go down. But also with the rumored, not rumored, it's almost confirmed, the vaccine coming. Medical Properties Trust is not, it's a company that deals with actual property, like hospitals. They build these things. It's more of a REIT. And I just decided to put a lot in, and I got some back here. Some of these I might end up selling at some point, but not anytime soon. PayPal got really big, and Zoom over the pandemic time. Zoom blew up this year very well. I should have put more in, but the big one is Tesla, like I said. But there's other ones here I want to go into. Apple, again, that one was actually kind of low for me. It went up. Sun Communities is a REIT. It's a real estate investment trust, and it did go down this year. I had a lot of faith in it, but it went down a little bit, so I lost about $50 on it. But again, these numbers are going to go back up. These numbers go up and down, and the pandemic hurt a lot of stocks earlier this year, but that's okay because my portfolio is so diversified. I mean, if we go up here, I made $18,000 this year. I made $2,000 in dividends and then $16,000 in market gains. So, that's pretty good money. Some people make that a year just in their regular job. I made that just with this portfolio based on the growth of stocks. So even though it was hurt big time, what I did was I decided to reinvest in tech when the pandemic was hitting. I said, okay, from now on, I'm going to take my money and put it in tech. And then look what happened. It paid off. So you got to also be open-minded and stuff. And if something fails, try something else. Now, these numbers are big numbers, right? I'm playing with some big money here. But you don't need a lot of money to start. I've been doing this for years. You can start with $100. If you start with $100 a month, if you invest from the age of 20, this is the Dave Ramsey philosophy, but it's real. If you invest from 20 to 50 years old, or maybe even 20 to 40, depending on what happens with the market, but let's just say 50, $100 a month, you could retire with $800,000 to $1 million tax-free if you put in a Roth IRA with compound interest and growth stock. This is possible. It's not easy. It requires discipline, but it is possible. I've seen people do it, and people who I know personally. This is one that I blew it with. All right, Six Flags. I invested like $5,000, more than that, almost for $5,000 in Six Flags back in like February, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to invest now. The summer's going to come and people are going to go to theme parks. I'm going to make my money back tenfold. And also, I believe Six Flags has a 0.73 dividend. But as you can see right here, I invested. Look at this. I was at $5,000, right? Boom! There goes the pandemic. Just killed the stock dead. Oh, and it's coming back though. Look at it's coming back. I'm telling y'all, you gotta be patient. This is the long game. You must be patient if you're going to buy and hold. If I sweated and I sold all this when it started going down, I would have lost money. But I'm going to end up getting my money back when Six Flags does reopen up next year, the year after, I'm gonna get my money back. And then so I'm gonna make a profit, but you have to be patient. At least I might. I mean, we'll see what happens. I lost about $500 on that. It sucks, but I mean, what can you do? I mean, no one predicted the pandemic hitting the way it did. I thought that over the summer we're gonna have tons of people going to Six Flags, but I guess not. However, after the pandemic, people will go. AT&T did not do as well as I wanted to either. I stopped investing in this. I'm gonna wait for it to go back up. Here is where I really threw a lot in, right? And you can see, look how sporadic that is, boom boom. It's just very sporadic, and then it had a big jump. Probably because I invested about 1,000 in there recently, because their dividend yield is 6.86. So this is one of the stocks that I use that pays me dividends. I don't have a full dividend portfolio. That's something I'm gonna do later. But at some point, I'm going to switch over to dividends and then just end up making money on my dividends forever. But again, that's later. That's later in life when I'm deep into my 40s or early 50s. Right now, we're just growing. We're trying to grow. Fidelity Covington Trust. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but this is Fidelity stocks are more like mutual funds and things like that. Same thing with all these Vanguard stocks. One goes up, one goes down. Now, Quam Man recommended I invest in Peloton, and it paid off for me. I made $375 on that, and it will keep growing. These are marijuana stocks, which are going to be shooting up very soon if it gets decriminalized. We'll see what happens. Either way, these are very safe stocks long term, because it looks like at some point in the future, it might not happen for 4 years or 8 years or even 10 years. Maybe less than that. Okay, we'll see. But at some point, marijuana will be federally legalized. And if so, then these stocks are going to jump through the roof. You know what I mean? Cannabis will be legalized at some point, possibly. And people who have a lot of money invested in these are going to become very, very wealthy. Now, I'm not telling you to throw all your money away in this. Please do not throw all your money away in the stock market, because you will end up broke. Do not do that. You must have enough money saved up to support yourself. This money I throw into this is just extra money I have. It's not my savings account. This is not a savings account. It's not a checking account. This is a investment account. This is money I put in there knowing that I might not ever get back. It's gambling in a way, but if you know what you're doing, it's not gambling. And right now we're hoping on this happening. It may not happen right away, but it's inevitable that it will. See what I'm saying? DraftKings, another Kwame recommendation. I made 46 cents on it. That one went up and down. It just depends. I already made a little bit on it before, but it's one of those things where we're preparing for sports to begin. So when sports begin, like the NBA comes back and we get to the playoffs of the NFL, that's probably going to go up. Disney goes up and down, whatever. Coke went down. That was a safe bet. I didn't lose that much on it. Some of these Vanguard, like this is the S&P. This one follows the market. Again, it's got a little dividend yield, not anything too crazy. I purchased it just because it was a recommendation from somebody. I didn't put too much into it. This is the emerging markets Vanguard for up and coming companies. 2.46% dividend yield. Don't really care much about that now, but it'll be a big deal later on. Again, Cedar Fair, another one of the fair companies, another one of the amusement park companies. Didn't do so well this year because of the pandemic. 3M, very safe company. These down here, some of these did not do very well. These were recommendations from friends. Honestly, some didn't know what they were talking about. Some did. But again, I'm not going to sell these. They're down, but I'm not going to sell them because I expect these to all go back up. In fact, there is a trend of it going back up again, as you can see right here. You got to look at the market. Some of these are going to flop, some are not, but I'm not one that's going to sell on this, anytime soon. I hate Verizon. I've worked there twice. I despise that company, but I bought them because they have a 7.91% dividend yield. That's a very good dividend yield. Now, that dividend yield will go up and down depending on what Verizon thinks. Usually when the value of a stock goes down, the dividend yield goes back up again to give the stockholders and the shareholders something to share, to get. But it's definitely not something that I'm not too invested, as you can see in Verizon. It's more so put a little bit in to see how it does, not too much. WWE, I'm going to sell this whenever it makes me a profit because it's been so up and down and I don't trust that company anymore. So I'm probably going to end up selling this stock at some point next year, probably after WrestleMania, depending on what happens. But if we start getting crowds in the shows, I might hold on to it depending on, again, you got to keep an open mind here. If they start getting an audience, I'm not going to sell it. And these down here at the bottom, because they just didn't, they're the smallest amounts that I have. Again, I haven't invested in these three yet. These are all ones that I'm planning to invest in the future. That's why they have zeros. But these are all in the red. Now, again, I'm just showing you kind of, what I do. And I throw in a little bit of money here and there. As you can see right here, it says, pending transaction, 3,000 coming in from my bank account. And I have 3 buys coming up. So tomorrow, that 3,000 to go to 3 stocks, which is actually the marijuana stocks. These 2 right here, and I put a little bit in Tesla, a little bit more, because you can never put too much into Tesla. Well, maybe you can, but Tesla has been an absolute monster. I'm sure you've heard about it, even if you're not an investor. I am a little worried that's gonna pop one day. No lie about that. I am a little worried, but again, with your portfolio, you must diversify. This is my 3rd portfolio. Okay, I've got 2 other ones, and the first one that I opened up is built on tech stock mutual funds, and that one's already made me like 10 grand. Overall, I don't know if it's 10 grand or like 10 grand this year or 10 grand overall. I think it'll be overall, but I'm not putting any more money in that right now. I'm focusing on this portfolio. But, I've got that one for retirement mostly. This one's also for retirement, but it's not under an IRA, and that one is under an IRA. So with that one, it'll just be a lot better for me to buy into that. But over here, again, we're picking safe companies. They're called blue chip companies, right? Because they're safe picks. Microsoft, Walmart, Sony, Tesla, AMD. There's also other ones like Amazon. There's other ones that I don't even have invested. I have money in Amazon in my other account, but not in this one. That maybe might be a good idea to have. But overall, it's been a big success for me. I'm not even a professional investor, and I made 18 grand this year. The numbers are there, yo. You don't have to be a professional, just be smart, and also diversify. And if you can't afford to throw in thousands, that's okay. You build it up over time. You have to build it up. The younger you are, the better it is, because you'll have a chance to grow better. You'll have more compound interest. You'll have the younger you start, the better, dude. And a lot of y'all are fucking in your 20s, fucking around, spending your money on video games, which, fine, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do, okay? But what works for me, had I known this when I was 20, I would have slowed down the video games and the fast food, definitely the fast food, and I would have really invested at least $100, if not more, into the stock market, into a retirement account, because, buddy, I'd have a lot more money if I started when I was in my 20s. I would have tons. I would never have gone homeless. But again, you don't want to take money out of there. You don't want to take money out unless you absolutely have to, because you do have to pay taxes on the money you get, just so you know. Unless you get an IRA account, a Roth IRA, where you don't pay taxes on the way out, you got to pay taxes on this. So anyways, hopefully this video will inspire you to do more research on investing. Don't just listen to me. There's tons of people, tons of people online you can listen to, and people you can do research on. You can do your own research. Take time to do it. I'm telling you right now, though, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. You're not going to get rich quick. I'm telling you that right now. And this is not going to work out for you in 2 or 3 days. This is like years and years of... This portfolio is only a couple of years old, right? This one. I opened it last year. It actually tells you right here. I opened it August 19, 2019. Started with 1,000. Right, you can see me putting in money. This is me slowly putting money in. You can see it right here. Then I decided to put a lot more in. And this is not just me putting money in. It's also the market going up and down. It went down, but I still focused, kept focusing. Goes up and 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 up. See, it's gonna go down. It's gonna go up, but it has to trend upward. It's the key is the long game. If you sit there and you're like, well, it might go down. It's gonna go down, bro. But it's gonna go back up again if it's a big company, because they know what they're doing. So don't be one of those guys who's just afraid to do it because it's going to go down. Yes, it goes down, but it also goes up. The idea is to have it trend upward. And you're going to have some stocks fail, dude. If you have a diversified portfolio, not everything's going to click. Look at this. I got red too. It's just you're not going to win everything. But if you just focus on the goal, you can do it. Hope this inspired you. Thanks for listening and watching, and I hope you have a great day.